first question is, I know where to look to find information on how to access resources and assistance with a community cleanup or beautification project. So if you want to start up a cleanup or beautification project, do you definitely know who to ask or where to look for assistance? That's letter A. If you mostly do, that's letter B. Not sure is C. Mostly not is the letter D. And then if you absolutely do not know where to find information on accessing resources, is letter E. All right, beautiful. So nobody definitely doesn't know. That's good. Hopefully everybody knows the Neighborhood Engagement Hub. Their number is plastered all over this series, so feel free to give them a ring. And we are going to get a little bit more into detail. So hopefully even those who definitely know will at least be aware of a new resource that you can go to look. Oops. The next question is going to be, I know who I need to contact to get help removing a dangerous tree. So that should say that is on a city park, a city right of way, a land bank owned lot, a city owned lot, or a privately owned lot. You definitely know who to contact about those 5 different types of trees. Go ahead and click the letter A or text the letter A. If you mostly do, that's letter B. Not sure is C. Mostly not is D. And if you definitely do not know who to contact to get help removing a dangerous tree in one of those 5 locations, that is the letter E. All right. Glad to see we have some experts here. We also have some folks who have no idea. So hopefully we'll have a breadth of new knowledge coming across here. Great. So I want to give just a quick introduction before we get into the meat of the presentation, which is the resource directory. Hi everyone, my name is Michael Lawler. I'm an urban designer and neighborhood planner with the city of Flint. I help to facilitate what's called the Neighborhood Planning Initiative. I know a lot of you are aware of or have worked with us in the past, but basically the Neighborhood Planning Initiative aims to improve Flint neighborhoods and parks in accordance with the Imagine Flint Master Plan. Again, we want to obviously honor the input of those 5,000 residents and continue that kind of engagement, making sure that we continue to get the same kind of feedback on neighborhood development that we got in that initial in those initial planning stages. One of our primary goals is to engage in cross-agency efforts to make sure that residents have tools and to grow residents' capacity to affect change and development in their neighborhood. So that means, we try to work across these different institutions and agencies to really understand how can we best make resources available to Flint residents. We work with residents, agencies, and other stakeholders to create these resources and to really help to connect initiatives in neighborhoods and support initiatives, make them more easily. Sorry, this is a very bizarrely worded sentence, so apologies for that. Trying to basically make clear all of these different relationships that exist, but a lot of folks might not know that they do. So we try to make tools such as the Flint Neighborhood Map, or assist on developing tools such as that, or the Neighborhood Improvement Resource Directory. And so that's why we are presenting on this tonight. Another thing, so this, we talked about this during the neighborhood map as well. This came out of a couple of interns' work through the MSU Flint Community Initiative. They began their program in the summer of 2019. And that internship program paired students and leaders of nonprofit or public agencies to really develop projects that do expand access to the community resources that exist. So without further ado, let's get into the Neighborhood Improvement Resource Directory. So, like I mentioned before, this is just a draft for discussion purposes. We are aiming to get an official finalized copy, hopefully sometime this summer. So really, this guide aims to direct residents through the process of reporting problems and implementing solutions. So we both want to look at how do I report these issues and how can I actually address them um, if just reporting it doesn't work. We'll get into that a little bit later. It helps to identify the agencies that are who have purview over these various issues, and how to actually really move the process forward once you do report an issue. So we have several different sections. Again, if you are following along either with the printed copy or the version that was included in Teresa's email, you'll see that there are different sections that are sort of color coded. So first we have streets, sidewalks, and utilities. The next is traffic and transportation, trees, animals and wildlife, waste management, code enforcement, blight elimination and beautification, and finally, events and programming. Um, so just to give a quick example, this is the spread that we have on tree issues. Um, and we wanted to keep this separate, even though it does have a lot to do with blight elimination as well as um, uh, street maintenance, things like that. Depending on how a tree is situated, you have several different agencies that you would need to report that to. So um, at the top here, we list a couple of the different types of issues. So the first type of issue would be a tree limb interfering with a utility line. If that is the case, you can contact consumers energy and just reference that. We list the reference to that information on page 8 here. If it's a matter of a tree root causing sidewalk damage, then we refer you to page 5, where we discuss how to implement sidewalk repairs or how to request sidewalk repairs. And then if it's a dead tree or damaged or hazardous limb, then we sort of try to walk you through the process. Okay, well, first we need to identify who's responsible for maintaining the tree. And we list several different options for who the tree um, might be who might be responsible for maintaining that tree. So if it's in a city park, we can go over on this side of the page and see um, trees on city park property. Uh, sorry, the hard copy version is updated. I just realized that this slide uses an outdated version, so it's not Alyssa Paquette. It's Roy Lash, who was our new parks planner. Um, you would go to him to report that issue. It lists a couple of pieces of information. Um, Tree maintenance in parks is contracted out using the parks millage funding. Obviously, this funding is limited given the amount of parkland in the city. We have a fairly small budget to spread out for that. But if it is the case that you report a tree and the millage funding is not able to repair that tree, we list a couple other resources on the far right hand side. So you can reach out to the Genesee Conservation District. We give a little bit of information about them. They manage the city's street trees, but they can also provide assistance in identifying what needs to be done to a damaged tree, whether it be in a city park, a city-owned lot, a privately owned lot, or a land bank-owned lot. They can assist with identifying, oh, this is what I need to do to make this safe, and they can put you in touch with a contractor who then you could either pay the contractor, you could apply for grant funding to remove those trees. They're basically there as sort of a technical assistance to let you know this is what you need to do in order to make this safe. Um, so that's just to kind of walk you through an example of how we try to lay this out. I'm going to ask, I'm going to ask as we go through the other, and I can absolutely deliver you another one. Anybody who would like additional copies of this, I'm more than happy to print those out and deliver as well.
Michael, I just want
Um,
to clarify. that the directory wasn't in our shared drive, so I shared the slides, but not the directory because I
Oh,
it wasn't in our shared folder.
shoot, I'm so sorry about that. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I
I can get it out.
realize now I submitted it later.
I can definitely get it out to everyone after this, but it wasn't in the folder that I used to make the emails, so they just have
Got
these
it.
slides.
Got it. All right. Well, I apologize to everyone. We will be getting a digital copy to you. Um, but yeah, if you would like a hard copy, feel free to reach out and we can provide that as well. So I'm going to go through a few of the different sections here. And while I go through these, I would just like everybody to think about um, if there's anything missing, if there's any specific information within these different topics that you would like us to sort of dig in a little bit deeper to get some more information about how to deal with specific things. Just keep that in mind. And we are going to discuss some of those with the breakout sessions later on. Actually, I'm going to quickly um, upload this into the drive so that we can share that link.
Great, thank you. If you do that,
Yep,
I'll link in the chat right away.
absolutely. All right. Oh, I dropped it in the land use folder. I'm sorry. You will find it there.
Okay, I'll pull it out and I'll, put it in the chat for everybody.
Yep, just yeah, make sure that it's a publicly shareable link and we'll be good.
Will do.
Thank you for that, Teresa. So apologies to everybody. Planning was not great on this apparently. Um,
For what
so the
it's worth,
first
the reason why
Mhm.
it didn't make it in there was because Michael was working on it until we went to print, because there's a lot of content in this document. And every time I look at it, I'm very proud of this body of work. So I just wanted to make that note.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. It speaks to the efforts that we're really trying to make to sort of break down blocks in communication between different agencies to actually, go out and make sure this is the correct contact person at this correct agency to make this specific type of improvement. And it really is, you have to deal with a lot of different folks. You'll see as you go through this. Um, there's a lot of different agencies that have purview over these issues in the city. Um, so first thing we're going to go over streets, sidewalks, and utilities. So in terms of street conditions, we looked at potholes and damage to pavement. So if you need the city crew to come out and pound down some new asphalt, who to go to for that. Snow and ice removal as well. We talk a little bit about the process for the city's snow removal. Sidewalk conditions. We look at again damage due to city trees because that is dealt with differently from just a regular damaged piece of sidewalk. Damage due to other causes, and the 50-50 sidewalk replacement program, which I do want to make sure everybody is aware of. In the city of Flint, residents or property owners are responsible for the stretch of sidewalk that runs through their property. In order to facilitate sidewalk repairs, the city has a 50-50 matching program. So they will send out a contractor to look at your stretch of sidewalk. That contractor will say, all right, we need to replace these 3 sidewalk squares. If you pony up half of the cost of doing that, the city will match the other half. And we get into some details about how to access that program. In terms of utilities, we talk about streetlight outages and issues, um, referencing the city's web app, which I also want to point out exists. There is now a web portal where you can identify an address and just click on the dot to report a streetlight outage or issue. Um, we talk about downed or exposed utility lines. Um, in this case, you might have to contact consumers. You might have to contact Comcast or AT&T. There's a couple different contacts there. Tree limbs interfering with utility lines. Again, that is up to the utility. manholes, storm drains, and sewage mains. So if there are issues with the drainage on your block, and then fire hydrants, water mains, or water leaking from the ground. So that's more about the actual water system as opposed to the drainage system. I should also say, if anybody has any questions, feel free to shout out. I think we have time to address those as they come up.
Yeah, Michael. So one quick question before we move on. Charlotte asked in the chat about grants for tree removal. Do you want to discuss that, or do you want me to dig into that?
I will let you go for that, Ashley.
Okay, and please feel free to pop in here. So historically, there have been a couple of different opportunities for grant resources for tree removal. It does to some degree depend on the location of the tree, but I have known the Community Foundation's Neighborhood Small Grants Program to make awards for tree removal or tree trimming on land bank properties primarily. I do believe that they may have also made some awards for street tree trimming in the past. Michael, is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
And then the same for the Genesee County Habitat for Humanity's Flint brand grant. So both of those have supported tree trimming and tree removal as it relates to land bank properties and city street trees. I am not aware that those have supported private property trees, but I think that it would be worth asking the funders, but I do not believe that they have done that in the past.
Karma is shaking her head no. If Karma, you want to jump in there.
Sure. I'm chairperson of the Neighborhood Small Grants. And if it's on private property, it's a definitely low. Whoever owns that property can take care of their own property. And as far as it being, it all depends on the tree. If it's on city property, and if it's a hollowed out, if there's something wrong with that tree, if that tree is dead, the city will take care of it. And I can tell you the quickest way to do it. If that tree is dead, you take a picture of it and you get it to Heather Griffin. And if it is an emergency, that tree will be gone in less than a week. So it's easier to get rid of a hollowed out tree that is on city property. And it's the same with the land bank. If that hollowed out tree is in a place where it's going to damage someone's private property, it will be removed. But that is through the land bank. And you have to take a picture of it, because the more work you expect them to do to check it out, the less likely it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's good advice, Karma. I will say there are instances where tree poses an immediate threat that they aren't dealt with. So I definitely think that adding a picture to your complaint is definitely helpful. If it is a particularly dangerous instance, like it's hollowed out or totally dangling, that is definitely useful information to share. But yeah, the brand grant and the neighborhood small grants, I would say, are the primary grant resources for that.
Michael, we have quite a few questions in the
Okay.
chat. Questions from Connie, Mark, Stephanie, and also Deb.
All right.
So I'm wondering.
Yeah, let's dig in.
Connie, would you like to ask your question, or did you already send it to one of the planning team?
It was just a comment that I have used the city sidewalk plan 50/50 for the last 10 years, and I want to say that it has it's a great program, but I can only purchase 2 a year. But it's very good. They were so
Connie,
good.
I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Well, they were so good that I had a tree in my yard that was destroying the city sidewalk, and they even cut that big old bulk piece of tree limb from the ground, the root, and did a good job. So I do suggest that if you can use that, use it.
And then
Yeah, there definitely are instances where a contractor will be out assisting with something, and if you raise another issue and you ask very nicely, they might be willing to address that as well. Um, Mark, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been asking the city about several of these things: sidewalks, putting trees in the medium, and I mean, we as a group are really anxious to beautify our area, to make safe walkways between. I mean, we got Dewey Park going one way, we got Max Brandon Park going the other way, we got the Sylvester Broom Empowerment Village, but we safely can't walk to any of those places because the sidewalks and the blight is so bad. And so I've been making, I'm a little frustrated because I've been making frustrated and sad because I've been making lots and lots of calls, and it's not near as straightforward as you're presenting here. Are these rules in place now? Well, and the other thing is I'm getting contradictory answers. I got an answer from Angela from the county, who it looks like she's not going to be head of that anymore by what you just said.
I'm sorry, Angela.
Okay,
Who?
what's Angela's name? Ashley?
Angela Warren from the Genesee Conservation District.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
She was the one. Basically, the city engineer told me no. I can't do anything in the medium between the sidewalk and the street. And then Angela, so I made several phone calls because nobody was getting back to me. So I just called, everybody, I put it on Facebook. I might even talk to you, Michael. I talked to others trying to figure out where to go. And then, so Angela finally got back to me and said, yes, you can plant trees, but we wanted to plant fruit trees, to help eliminate the fruit desert, but you can't plant fruit trees. And she gave me a list of trees. And now I'm waiting for her to get back to me on the girth of the trees, how big the tree has to be to put in that medium, and then what I have to do to get a permit. And then on the sidewalks, you kind of know the sidewalks there. I mean, we're going, I heard contradictory statements from several people, and I have the emails, so emails contradict themselves. And
So just I just want to make sure that we have time to address everyone's questions. So to address your point about the planting trees, since the conservation district does manage the city's street tree system, they have ultimate authority over what is planted in the public right of way. Again, because they are ultimately responsible for maintenance of those trees. In terms of the sidewalk issue, I saw your email earlier, Mark, and I apologize. I'm not sure where you got the information about the 50/50 program, but
from Catherine.
From Catherine. Okay, so that's a conversation I need to have with Catherine because we have always matched when a group has a grant for 50/50 sidewalk repairs, the city has always matched that. So I need to make sure that conversation and that is made clear.
See, that's really the hard. I mean, there's a little bit of work going into those grants, and I've been working at Ashley and Lauren. They've been working hard with me to get that.
Yep.
And then I'm getting all these contradicting, and I thought, wow, I can't even ask for this grant because I don't know what I can or can't do. And so
that's part of the reason
I said I'm gonna just stop and just do what we can.
So Mark, that's part of the reason why we decided to make this, so that we would have on the record names and contact information for who gives the okay, and that we verify these processes with that. That was one of the reasons why we went up to deadline on this, was because I wasn't able to hear back from DPW about who was maintaining the 50/50 program and where the sidewalk repair questions should go. So I do apologize for that. We recognize that there's constantly staff changes. And sometimes when staff members change, information doesn't transfer from the previous to the current staff member. And so part of the reason why we wanted to do this was to make sure that we do have a common rule book that everybody is playing from. Planting trees is way different from trimming trees. So I do want to point out that's why you might have had some more difficulty with that. But let's let's try to move along here. I see that.
So my question was, these rules are yet to be put in place. Then this isn't something that once you send it to me or get it to me, it'll be, oh, I can count on this being so. It's going to happen in the future.
No, these are all systems and procedures which currently exist. And again, there might be a lack of clarity in between individual agencies about what other agencies are responsible for. But again, this is the common rule book. We've heard from each of these individuals and each of these agencies about what their services are, what they provide, what their purview is, and those are now in this document. So again, there might be things that change. That's the other thing I should point out. This is a living document.
So
things constantly change.
Thank you. This is good news. I'm glad we're
okay.
Going to have something in place.
Thank you, Mark, and that's a helpful clarification. So let's go to Stephanie and then Deb.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Shaw. I just have a question about the city of Flint sent out to my home, I guess some contractors to replace the pipe for the city. And when they finished the process of it, of course, they went through my sidewalk and then kind of in front of my property or my home. When they start filling it back in the dirt, they didn't fill it in correctly, nor did they do the sidewalk smoothly. So now I have like holes are being sinked in from the dirt. I guess they didn't fill it in correctly. And I have contacted them, kind of like what Mark said, I contacted them to maybe do the 50-50, but I didn't get a response back. So I'm just wondering, would they come back and repair it for free, or do I have to pay, even though they the one that kind of destroyed it?
Yeah, that's a really good point. We've definitely heard a lot about the pipe replacements. I'm trying to rack my brain. There were about 5 different people who you were supposed to call at various points. I think if you reach out to DPW, I would say the contact information that we have for streets and sidewalks, which is, looking it up here, the street maintenance division is 810-766-7343, extension 1. If you don't hear back from them, keep calling, keep leaving voicemails. If you need someone's email me and I will give you their email so that you can stay in their mind, is what I would say.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And then we had Deb next.
Yeah, I was concerned in the area where we do some of our clean and green mowing. Last year, we had those big ice and windstorms where some really, really large trees were knocked down, and they are preventing you from being able to clear the lots. But because they are so large, they're like, you can sit on them like they're tables. They're so big. And we sent some pictures in saying, we'd like to have them removed. The neighbors have asked about it, but the one note said that if it didn't affect private property, then it's not considered an issue, but it is an issue to the residents on the street because there are multiple trees down and we're mowing around them. So
yeah, so unfortunately, the land bank is only able to fund so much tree removal on their property. So again, if it's an issue, I think specifically if we're talking about clean and green lots, they might make a specific exception to take care of those. But I know that for the most part, if a tree is not posing an imminent threat, meaning it is not hollowed out or a limb is not dangling perilously, that it might be difficult to get that done by the agency responsible, which then brings us back to the question of, okay, how do I take matters into my own hands? And like Ashley described, you can apply for grant funding to address some of those issues. I see that sorry, does Raynetta have a question, or are we just dropping her contact information?
Raynetta is over the Clean and Green program. So contact Raynetta about that situation and she should be able to give you the response, the correct response.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say work through the Clean and Green contacts you have for that specific issue.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So that's streets, sidewalks, and utilities. Go on now. Traffic and transportation, we deal with damaged traffic signals, damaged traffic signs, and traffic sign installation requests. I like to point this one out to folks. If you feel like a stop sign, yield sign, pedestrian crossing sign is necessary in your neighborhood, there is a procedure to request that. And I would just encourage everybody to go through that process as they see issues in their neighborhoods, to reach out to the city clerk's office, get the form submitted to DPW and the city engineer. Yep. So public transportation, then we have the bike sharing program through Zagster, shelter repair request from the MTA, and actually requesting a new bus route from the MTA. Trees, we went over. And again, just an example of how this is presented in the directory. For animals and wildlife, we have live animal removal. So if you have dangerous wildlife or feral or stray pets, it's a different process. Animal neglect or abuse complaints, deceased animal removal. This was a really interesting one to research. There's actually different procedures for this based on whether the animal is in a city right of way. Again, we get into those definitions in the directory, or whether it's deceased wildlife. Those are actually two different people take care of that, and then just regular deceased animal disposal, which you can actually dispose of in a trash bag with your regular curbside pickup if it is under 50 pounds and you clearly mark dead animal. I thought that was a fun fact. Waste management, getting into yard waste collection, bulk item and mattress disposal, as well as household waste for recycling. So curbside recycling services, as well as water bottle recycling and hazardous or electronic waste, including specifically what items you were able to recycle through the curbside pickup. Code enforcement. This actually gets into a bit of what we were discussing about the enforcement of zoning violations. If you want to report a blight complaint, you can report that either to the land bank or to the city, depending on whether it's a privately owned or land bank owned property. You have zoning violations and building violations, which are both managed by the city. Zoning violations by the zoning coordinator, building violations by building safety and inspections. Blight elimination and beautification. We have vacant lot sales and leasing. So going through the different types of either lease or sale arrangements that you can do with the land bank, including both vacant lots. Actually, I think we have a little flow chart here. So if you are interested in purchasing or leasing a land bank lot, we go through a couple different questions. So if your home is adjacent to the lot, you can go ahead and purchase it. Again, we have the forms and contact information here. If you are not adjacent to the lot, but you are planning to build a new home, we go through a bit of the application process there. You need proof of funds and financing for that. And if you don't plan to build a new home, then you can go ahead and lease it. So we try to be very try to be very direct about what the different types of processes there are through that kind of decision tree. I see Charlotte has a question. Is reporting blight anonymous? That's a good question. I know that the blight complaint is not made public. It is just viewed within the city's blight office. So for example, when a blight violation goes to blight court, it's not like you have to stand in court against the violator. It is, just something that the blight office sees. So I would say if you left a voicemail and didn't give your name, that would be anonymous. But again, they aren't going to share it regardless. Yeah, Karma says don't give your name. There you go. All right, so blight elimination and beautification continued. We have information about community cleanups, so how to request a dumpster, how to conduct a park cleanup, and how to apply for the land bank clean and green program. We also have a list of different resources. So this is a little bit different from the other pages where we actually get into specifically what these different agencies, what resources they have available. So these various agencies have resources for different types of beautification projects, and we get into that there. And lastly, we have events and programming. So if you want to do an event in a city park, we have the reservation request information. For a block party, we have the street closure request, and then various communications outlets. So if you want to get the word out about an initiative, an event, whatever it might be, we list several local news outfits, including blogs. I think we have the Flint Journal, stuff like that. So we then also get into how do you hold an event at a community center? It depends on the community center. And what other resources are available to help plan an event, where we describe some of the Keep Genesee County Beautiful's resource directory that they developed. All right, that was a whirlwind. So we don't really have time for breakouts, I don't think. If anybody, oh, and I see Teresa just dropped the link to the resource directory in the chat. So if you do wanna grab that, go ahead and hit that link, and you will get the digital copy. I'm sure Teresa is also gonna send that out in the follow-up email. But yeah, I just wanted to hear if anybody has any thoughts about what could be included in here that's not, whether you think we need to go particularly in depth on one issue versus another. Mark, I think you brought up a good point that we didn't dig into here. How do you request to plant a tree in a city right of way? That's not something we dug into here, but that's definitely a request that we've heard before. So we will add that to the list. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Feel free to unmute yourself if so.
Okay, I have a thought.
Let's hear
The
from
land
Karma.
bank. Because of COVID, the land bank had stopped leasing lots.
Right.
I
Well,
don't
they had
think they
stopped
started up again.
processing applications.
They're processing
Just to be clear,
applications now?
the lease program still was happening. They just didn't have a staff member who was able to go through the applications.
Oh, okay.
I just want to make sure that's clear. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that was going on. That's why I just don't want anybody to go and try to lease a lot and run into a problem.
Right. I think you can still submit your application. If you want to get your name higher on that waiting list, you should go ahead and submit the application. I know that they said they would be hiring a new staff person to deal with that backlog of lease applications. So I'm not sure what their timeline is on that, but that is something they're working through.
Okay.
I heard another
I do
couple.
know.
Yep.
I was going to say,
Go
I
ahead.
do know that if you have a lease in already, they're still allowing you to continue to lease the property. So if we have several leases in and they are still honoring them. And do you have any idea when they're gonna open that up?
When they're going to open it up, did you say?
Open back up
Right.
The state still requires that if you can do work remotely, that if you work in an office and you can work remotely, the state requirements are still that you do so.
Yeah. So I don't think we can really say, I especially don't want to speak on behalf of the land bank, but I do know that they are working on getting somebody to deal with that issue. Fingers crossed this season, but obviously there's quite a backlog.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, if they're anything like me, they want to keep working from home because I kind of like not having to get up and drive all the way in, get dressed.
Right.
Sorry, mute myself.
Fair enough. Any other thoughts here?
So I put this in the chat, Michael, so that we have it later on. We can save this file. But Mark talked about requests to plant trees in the right of way, and I've also heard folks request to make, flower plantings and other types of plantings and medians. So having some clarification on that in this document might also be something to add.
That's good. I believe in so the other thing about this, sorry, I dropped my copy here. We list different agencies. We give specific information about, for example, the Crim Foundation. We list their SAGE Coalition, the Traffic Taming Task Force, and the advocacy work. So we kind of tried to break it down. These are the things that these different agencies provide. In the case of KGCB, they do have a program that I think we call out here,
Yeah,
cultivating our community. But that's a good point that so the cultivating our community program is specifically for landscaping and improvements on street medians, traffic triangles, and other publicly owned spaces. But we should definitely call that out in the actual streets and sidewalks section to make sure that people know to reference that if they are interested in doing those types of improvements.
Michael,
What's the chances of getting this document you're holding in your hand right now to the city workers who would answer calls, like my request? I mean, so I would get somebody answer. So it would take a while to even get the phone answered. Then they would answer and they say, well, would it be this department? And I said, I don't know. That's why I'm calling you. And so you'd pass me onto that one. And then I would sometimes I get disconnected or sometimes I get, can we get this directory to the city workers?
Yeah, so that's another layer of the work that we need to complete before we publish the final draft. We have gotten we've gotten input from all of the different departments, but we haven't had the actual department directors review the document. So I'm just saying this generically, not specific about any one institution or agency. As staff turnover happens, as different management comes in, some of these processes get I don't want to say like mixed up, but like there might be different ideas about how this should work, right? So part of the publication of this is going to be making sure that the management of all of these different offices, institutions, agencies gives us the thumbs up and says, yep, this is the process, this is set in stone, and this is how we're going to be proceeding. Hopefully that answers the question.
Michael, I had a question
Yep.
too. It was similar to Mark's. I was going to ask that same question, Mark. So I appreciate you asking that. So now I can just ask one question. I was just going to ask, is there going to be a place in this directory that's like basically like a troubleshooting or somewhere where it says like, did this not work? Like, did you call this number and they didn't answer it? Did you reach out and they're not there anymore? Or did you
Mhm.
find an error in the book? Like, who do we contact if we think there's a
Yep.
mistake, error?
Yeah. So we're gonna have actually like a form to fill out if there are things that have either changed, or that if you run into an issue like a number changed or an extension changed or the individual has changed, there will be a way to submit those. Um, sorry, there was another point I wanted to make there. To talk about different different methods of recourse should the official process not work.
Mhm.
We do try to get into that with some of the stuff like, if the parks millage won't cover the tree trimming in the city park, contact the Genesee Conservation District or contact Ruth Mott Applewood. Um, I I'm trying to be extremely diplomatic. I don't know that agencies would necessarily want to put information about, well, just keep calling, keep leaving voicemails, keep emailing, keep following up, keep showing up in people's offices, keep going to city council, keep going to the county commissioners. Um, those are all things that people could do, but I don't think we can put those necessarily in this directory.
That's okay. That's what us advocacy groups are for.
Exactly. Yep. And I would encourage everybody to start showing up in people's offices, because sometimes you just need to make that face-to-face contact before somebody listens to you.
Thank you,
So I
Michael.
will put that out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Michael. And I know, the advocates will do the thing that the city officially can't do. We'll say, keep bugging them, keep bugging them. So
Right.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, if you see areas that need additional investment, that say, say we need to address this blight on a private property, that's where you can start really going to places like the Crim, really making like real advocacy campaigns for changes in policy so that we can figure out a better way to address those problems. And I think maybe we could be a little bit more explicit about that, of how to advocate for changes without being too specific about individual agencies.
So I'm physically raising my hand because I can't find my raise hand button since I'm a co-host. I don't think I have one.
Go for it.
But one of the things that I just think is important to loop back around on, this guide that Michael is presenting is absolutely a body of work that the city of Flint led, but it is something that Michael, as a planner at the city, and myself as the neighborhood engagement hub, spent a lot of time talking about over the years, because we were frustrated by the fact that either we were getting told by one person to do one thing and another person to do another thing, or that we would talk to community members that we were working with and we were like, oh, so the process is XYZ. And then that neighborhood resident would go and do XYZ and they would be told something completely different. So that's actually how this document came about, because our hope is that in starting to document and really thoroughly research and document and create these flowcharts and these processes, that it then holds those departments to those processes moving forward. And those things might have to change because there might be changes in personnel or changes in function or those kinds of things. But as soon as you have a document that you can then revise, that's being distributed to the community, then you have a standard to be held to. So I just want to give some serious kudos to Michael for putting this together, and to the interns that helped the city through this process, because finding these answers through the web that they were trying to navigate was crazy. So we know that this is not a perfect document. This is a working document. This is going to have to change. There are going to need to be revisions and modifications. We know all of those things, but at least this gets us to step one, and then we can keep moving forward. So I want to give some serious kudos to Michael for this work and for leading the charge on this. This is a really gorgeous document, and I look forward to holding folks' feet to the fire on managing projects moving forward.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
I appreciate that.
So
I
Michael,
will say,
can I
yeah, go
add
ahead, Mark.
something really quick that I think that could help a lot? So when we started this sidewalk project, I started making phone calls to different agencies and so forth, and everybody said, let's do this, Mark. I mean, so I'm talking about private citizens, I'm talking about the Broome Empowerment. I don't want to mention them all because I keep on going. But if we had a citizen task force where people could step forward. I mean, we've got people who are contractors. We have people who do masonry work. We have some highly skilled people that could oversee some of this work that the citizens of Flint want to do, but are discouraged and they don't. So if our voices could be heard, if we could be allowed to do some of this work, we could get a lot done. Flint Neighborhoods United, when I first started with it, man, we were out there, we were fixing fences as a group. So it'd be announced in the group, we were fixing fences, we were painting graffiti, we were beautifying the sides of building, we were boarding stuff up, and then they changed how they do things. If we could get something like that going again, we as citizens of Flint, because we are Flint, it's not the city hall and the people in administration. If you let us, the citizens of Flint, take part, we get stuff done. I went on and on and on. I'm sorry about that. The one thing about, and then about zoning. There's one thing about zoning that's really important. I bought 2 lots from the land bank. They turned out to be brownfield lots, and I get penalized for buying a lot that can't be used. I can't do anything with it till 2036. That needs to be talked about in the zoning. And I know this is city council. City council just had the opportunity to do something about it, and they pushed it aside again. So, Michael, you always take it from me. Thanks for being
honestly,
here.
I appreciate it because that is.
Thank you for doing this. I'm with Teresa and Ashley 100%. We need this work you're doing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I do want to point out the brownfield issue is something that we are in ongoing discussions about. And once we do actually have a system in place for dealing with that issue, we will make sure that it is made widely available. So thank you for pointing that out. And I do want to say we are over time. So yeah, Ashley, please go for it.
That's exactly where I was going. We are over time. It is 8:06. And I think that Michael has a couple of post questions.
Oh,
no post questions on this one. Oh wait, yes we do.
No,
okay.
I forgot. If you had stuck around and have a second.
Nobody heard me like 3 times. I kept trying to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, Teresa.
I'm just loud, Teresa. I'm just very loud.
So I know where to look for information on how to access resources and assistance on a community cleanup or beautification project. A for yes, B for mostly, C for not sure, D for mostly not, E for definitely not. And I'm glad to see we made some progress there. I do just want to remind everybody we linked the electronic version of this in the chat. You can download it from that link. Alternatively, if you do want a physical copy, I'm more than happy to deliver those to you. I saw Mark and Edna both said that they would appreciate that. So I got you both on my list. If anybody else, you can email me. Next question. I know who I need to contact to get help removing a dangerous tree. that is on city park, city right of way, land bank owned lot, city owned lot, privately owned lot. Definitely yes is A, mostly yes is B, not sure is C, definitely not, or mostly not is D, and definitely not is E. Beautiful. All right. Thank you all so much. I'm glad to see that we've clarified some things, and we've learned there are more things that need clarification. So appreciate everybody.
Thanks,
Ashley.
Michael. Don't let me discourage you.
No, not at all. Not at all. Any closing words, Ashley or Teresa?
No, I just want to say thank you all for hanging out with us and for providing your feedback on the resource directory. Again, we know that this is a working document and that it's going to be a long road, but this at least gives us somewhere to start.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the same thing. Thank you everybody for hanging on. I know we're over our time. And Jeffrey, it was really nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. It's nice to see you were committed to being here all the way to 8:08 p.m. as a new city staff person. That is really encouraging for us to see that. And I think, Mark, I 1,000% agree. Like, it is so frustrating to try to weave through the system and not find the info. And I think, Michael, if you can get people to green light it and say, oh, yep, we agree, that's what we should do in our department, that gives us as residents and agencies the ability to be like, well, you put it in you green lighted that, so that's the process. I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
Level.
Yeah, and so I'll say this draft we did receive feedback from people, feedback from department directors, but they have not stamped it for approval. So
I appreciate
put that out there.
I hope to see this come out, come to fruition soon. So thank you.
It looks like Jeffrey has something to add. I just wanted to make note of that.
Oh no, I was just going to add to what Ashley and Michael said. That it's within the city itself, we can't get answers. So we've been having troubles with trees on parkland since I started at the city. And unfortunately, there's been there was a pretty significant death in DPW, and it's kind of taken ground everything to a halt. So we feel your pain within City Hall as well.
All right.
Yeah, Betty Weidman was everything.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a big loss.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I see Chris has his hand up. Go for it. Chris?
I'm coming. I just wanted to mention, Michael, that we're only about 10 minutes over and it's not a city council meeting, so we're good.